yield the benefits that we believe they will. We also have Anna Martin from the city's Transportation and Public Works Department, who will show us graphics and pictures of traffic changes and safety equipment that we're going to be using. And importantly, we're also going to hear from the Downtown Austin Alliance. Cheryl Scully, who represents the Downtown Austin Alliance, will share their perspectives as well. So with that, I want to invite our Chief of Police, Chief Davis, to the podium.
Thank you, Mayor. Appreciate that. I'm excited to be here this morning to discuss this important initiative to make 6th Street footprint not only safer, but more vibrant, more walkable for our community and our visitors. You know, I know that 6th Street is a place that everyone in this room has memories of 6th Street and what that is. And me in particular, I was here about 15 years ago for a conference, and that's when I first fell in love with this city, was staying at the Driscoll Hotel and walking down to 6th Street, and just what a vibe it is. And that is not something that we want to lose, but it has changed, and we've talked about that. But I've also spent a significant time of looking and studying and understanding what 6th Street looks like beyond that entertainment piece. More importantly, the public safety of that. And so a key part of this initiative was to develop a plan that would increase pedestrian safety, decrease the number of officers being injured, and the need to respond to resistance. And then making the experience for those visiting, those who live here, who come down to 6th Street, more enjoyable. And as we started putting this plan together and talking to these business owners, it became clear, as a police agency, what we needed to do to make it safer. And so how do we impact public safety? What's this look like? So we spoke to business owners, community members in the area to discuss the plan and get their feedback. We also worked closely with other city departments, as you can see from here, to identify what we needed to develop a plan that would be safe for vehicular traffic, 6th Street on Sundays and Thursdays with no incident. We had no incidents on that. So this brings us to where we are today. So 6th Street, opening 6th Street to that vehicular traffic on Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays, as well as Sunday. So as the mayor mentioned, we will assess how things are going and then to make those adjustments as needed. I'm going to see how these gaps are and what we need to do if we see any of those gaps. So if you plan on visiting 6th Street this weekend, you'll notice that we've created a wider sidewalk and we've added rubber curbs and fencing. If you're driving, make sure that you maintain a slower speed and be aware of pedestrians. Also be aware of new signage in the area as relating to parking and street closures. I will be out here this weekend, as well as I think some of my friends from EMS and others, to see how this plan is operating, and again, look for any gaps that we need to address. That's it.
Thank you, Chief. My name is Anna Martin, Assistant Director with the Transportation and Public Works Department. As you can see outside on 6th Street, here in front of Parkside, city staff have installed rubber curbs and white flex posts between Brazos and Red River Street to separate the widened sidewalks from the vehicular lanes and prevent traffic from crossing into the pedestrian areas. This week, city teams will also install some fencing right behind those rubber curbs. This fencing is designed to prevent pedestrians on the sidewalk from entering the street and on the sidewalk in the street and in areas between intersections. The changes we've made to the street space allow our public safety partners flexibility to ensure everyone's safety on weekend nights in this area. Importantly, the changes also allow us to connect this area of 6th Street into the network of downtown Austin. People are moving around downtown differently than they did 10 or 20 years ago. If you come downtown now at any time of the day, you will see people getting around by walking, biking, riding scooters, driving, or on the bus. We are designing streets downtown that get all of these people where they need to go safely. The widened sidewalks and added pedestrian space you see here on 6th Street help us achieve that mobility goal to make this a street that functions for our community, not just on weekend nights, but 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and 365 days a year. Thank you.
Cheryl, yeah, please.
Good morning. My name's Cheryl Scully, and I am here on behalf of the Downtown Austin Alliance as a board member and chairwoman of the Public Space Experience Committee, also known as the Safety Committee. We spend a tremendous amount of time working on how we make downtown safer and cleaner for our residents and for the visitors, the thousands of visitors that come to Austin each year. So we are in support of these changes. I do want to compliment the mayor, Mayor Watson, our Chief Davis, and the transportation staff who have put together a plan that will be flexible enough to adjust as we experience and open up 6th Street again. Several of the investors in 6th Street are here today. They have done a tremendous job, such as Sean here in Parkside, renovating buildings, and there's more to come. But we have work to do to make sure that downtown is clean and safe, not just outside of 6th Street, but here on 6th Street as well. So our committee focusing on safety supports what the chief has recommended. We know they're putting together a task force to interdepartmental to study the issues and make sure that from all aspects, not just from policing, but from enforcement and legally, what we can do to make 6th Street even better. It's historic. We know that it's important to the community, but it needs some work, and I think we all agree with that. So on behalf of the Downtown Austin Alliance, we're here to say we support what the city is doing. We wish them well, and we're glad to be a partner with the city on this project. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, we'll be happy to, we've got others that can field questions, of course, including our chief of EMS and others that can answer questions. So feel free to ask us about where we're headed.
Mayor, how does it make it safer for people? It makes people with traffic on 6th Street, especially in light of what happened.
Well, I'm going to let the chief take on some of the technical questions and what we saw in the work. What I'll say is that one of the things, and I think it was our very first time we ever talked after she had been hired, we talked about what we would do with regard to this, and she talked in terms at that time about wanting to work with consultants and experts in the area, and so I'll let her address that.
Yeah, I guess I would ask the question back to you. In what world is it safe for pedestrian? If you've seen what we use to block off traffic, that is not safe. And so these officers that do this every weekend, if you talk to them, what they say is they put these barricades up and they get to work on what they need to do, and they pray nothing happens. So the resources are not there to put those true barricades in place. We don't have those. So those, if you're thinking of just outside now, outside 6th Street to block off for our parking here, that's what they use. And so we have to get heavier. The equipment and the infrastructure is not here to do that. So it is safer to have. I'm sorry, go ahead, ma'am.
Is this happening because of in light of what happened in New Orleans, or was this already like in the works?
Oh, this was a plan. This was a plan, again, and when I'm looking at, this is you talk about this geographical area, we're talking about 0.05% of the land mass in this city, and it concentrates on 25% of our uses of force here and our officer injuries. All of those things are happening here. So you put that safety on the top of it is just not a safe practice. And so the chaos that ensues when we're locking down these streets like this and inviting more chaos into this place, it is not tenable. It has to change.
Can I add one thing?
Yes, yes, sir.
And specifically your question, this was something that was in the works, and we were looking at how we wanted to go about addressing this. As I said in my opening comments, this part of downtown, we needed to be doing something on this. Anytime that you look at an area like this, a street that attracts a lot of people the way that 6th Street does, what happened in New Orleans, even without it happen, had it not happened, even before it happened, those are the kinds of things that are top of mind just as you go about doing those kinds of things. But fortunately for Austin, we're already doing this. Frankly, I think we probably would have been having something like this event even before New Orleans, but we were waiting on the infrastructure that we were going to put into place to have that ready to go before we were doing something like this. She had a question that we.
A couple of weeks ago, there were dump trucks blocking the end of the streets. Are those still there? What was the reasoning for putting them there and then taking them?
So that first week was a response to New Orleans, and that was just me. This was a lone wolf attack, until the FBI came out and substantiated that, right? I wanted to make sure that this is an entertainment district that's known worldwide, and we do get a lot of visitors here. So just to ensure the safety. That second week was about, we did not have our infrastructure, were not delivered in time. We had weather. We weren't sure if we were getting icy conditions. So that was part of that for that second week.
When it comes to the revitalization and safety of 6th Street as a whole, we heard a lot of these similar promises back when the Safer 6th Street resolution passed a couple of years ago. What is different about this, and what is going to make this stick?
I want to say that was a couple of years ago, and one of the things that, so I'll say it, that was a couple of years ago. And one of the things that we have, I think, done better over the last couple of years is recognize when basic needs need to be addressed and then making sure that they're addressed. This is one of the things that I've wanted to see us take action on. As I indicated, I think it was the very first conversation I had with the chief, and I had already had the conversation with the new city manager about what we needed to be doing with regard to 6th Street, renovating 6th Street and addressing it differently. You see us already taking action. We may be announcing something today, but we're ready to take action and have already taken action. But I want to be very clear about something. We're also going to monitor what's going on, because we want to make sure that it's achieving the goals we want it to achieve. You have a very forceful, dedicated chief that is looking to make sure it does that. But in addition to that, we will be looking for unintended consequences. And we're dealing with a lot of people in a very specific area, as she has pointed out. So not everything's going to be perfect. And there will be things that you'll see, there'll be things that I see, others will see, and we'll say, well, that's not exactly what we would have wanted. We'll see if we can make changes in those kinds of things. You also see that she's very focused on how she approaches things. So, for example, the answer that she just gave to the past question, there will also be things happen out in the world that will influence weekends so that we can monitor how things go. This is not going to be something static, but we are acting and we are prepared to do it right now.
If I can follow up,
was,
can I just
yeah,
clarify,
sure.
just quick clarification. I'm also talking about just the revitalization of 6th Street in general and how that
Sure. Well, part of the problem on revival, we're standing. I'll just say this: you're standing in a place, or in a place. You're not really standing, but I like your style. We're in a place where there's been a substantial investment of money made by a private entity. And there are others that I believe will follow in due course in that regard, but to some degree the city has to step up and do its part. And so I think that what we're doing here is in essence, and that's why you hear Cheryl from the Downtown Austin Alliance talk about the way she talks about it. We need to act at the city. We are now acting at the city. We will continue to monitor and act at the city. And I think what you will see is more of this kind of excellent investment into 6th Street. And as has been pointed out by the chief, she's not done and we're not done talking to the businesses and others that want to make that kind of investment about what is it you need and are we able to provide that. Yes, sir.
People are referencing New Orleans, but Austin had its own incident. It did not go down 6th Street. I know we're talking about 6th Street today, but would this be expanded, particularly during time to South by Southwest when the guy went down 9th Street and down Red River? Is that something that this is like you were saying it's not static? So this, you think you're going to continue and move it to other areas in the downtown?
Well,
area?
the South by Southwest, that will look just like it has in years past. That we have to close down these things for South by Southwest. So that is a different thing. We're talking about a normal weekend and a Thursday through Sunday here on 6th Street. So when we have those larger events that have already taken place year after year, that will continue.
And you're never going to be and I'm never going to promise that we're going to put everybody in a position where nothing bad's ever going to happen. We just don't live in a society where you can say something like that, and while it will always get the news when it happens, and I'll be asked questions about, am I able to stop all bad things from happening? That's just not realistic. What we will do, though, is exactly as you've seen the chief outline and lay out, is we are going to take actions to make things better and make things safer, and we will continue to do that, and we'll continue to monitor it. Why don't we do one more question? Yes, sir.
Maybe also, Chiefs, we've been talking a little bit about the streetscape, the roadways. Just in terms of like staffing, the presence down here, the resources down here, is that changing much, or is that still going to look about the same?
So when you look at the resources that we've spent down here, we're talking millions of dollars in that. We are going to be able to move resources downtown, and the mayor, he's correct. He had a very candid conversation with me in my interview process about downtown, and how downtown goes, your whole city goes. That's the importance of it, and I understand and I recognize that. So the resources that we use here in this small geographical area, we have got to get control of, and those resources are resources that we can use in other parts of this city.
Okay. Chief?
From an EMS perspective, we do convert in this past budget year. We were given some funding to increase our overall presence in the entertainment district, which includes a combination of the use of motorcycle medics, as well as additional resources that can really focus in on what's happening here on 6th Street. We do recognize that during times when the bars are open during entertainment, that there is an uptick in the number of medical emergencies here in this area. And in an effort to try to keep that from stripping those resources from elsewhere in the city, we've added additional vehicles, trucks, paramedics that are stationed downtown starting at the beginning of this month, that are focused solely on that, so that those other ambulances and other resources that are out in the community can focus on the remainder of the community. We're also working very hard to expand our presence with our mental health paramedics. In the past year, we've more than doubled the number of mental health paramedics, including adding one to EMS Station 6, which is Fire Station number 1, as well as EMS Station 17, which is over by the Deep Eddy Pool, so that we really can have a holistic approach to how it is that we respond to the various medical emergencies here in downtown.
Stephen Truesdale, Fire Marshal. So from the fire department's perspective, one thing that we can do is modify our response for these large events. And because we have the large fire trucks, we also have smaller squad or pickup style vehicles and even ATVs that we can use to respond in this area because of the congestion. And also from our perspective, as far as safety, code enforcement is important. So we do have our special events group, and we do night inspections down here to maintain the overall safety within the buildings as well as on the street.
You want to close with anything?
No, you bet, sir.
Yeah. Well, at least she has my back. Yeah, she got my signal. That's right. Well, thank you all for being here. I will tell you, this is an exciting and important moment for Austin and for our downtown. Taking this kind of direct action with this sort of leadership is going to make a big difference. And as we indicate, we'll continue to monitor it and continue to report back. So thank you all very much for being here. Sean, thank you for having us here, for what you do for our city. We deeply appreciate it. So thank you all.
Yep. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, man.
If you parked in the parking garage, Jack has some validation slips for you.